Now, history often reveals fascinating linkages between seemingly disparate events. Is it possible, for example, that the role Indian soldiers from undivided India played in the capitulation of China's Qing dynasty in the mid-19th century still riles China? And what might all of this have to do with the grave of a British potentiate in Indian Himalayas, or for that matter, the Dalai Lama? Here's an interesting retrospective from the Beyond Traveller team.
In June 2020, India woke up to horrifying news trickling down from the frigid heights of Galwan Valley on the Indo-China border in Ladakh.
I'll start with the latest, and I'm afraid it's not good news. 20 Indian soldiers have been killed in the Galwan Valley.
20 soldiers of the Indian Army were killed in action in a skirmish with the Chinese. The soldiers clashed on steep ledges precariously perched over the Galwan River. The details made it excruciatingly worse. Hand-to-hand combat, we all thought about that and shuddered. As we teetered on the brink of a war, I was reminded of a story I'd heard last year about Indian soldiers, long forgotten now, who were captured and killed during the Second Opium War in China during the mid-19th century. It was the summer of 2019. Johan and I were traipsing about in Dharamsala shooting Beyond Traveller when we chanced upon the grave of James Bruce, the Earl of Elgin, a British-appointed Viceroy of India.
In memory of James Bruce, Earl of Elgin, and Kincardine, Viceroy and Governor-General of India, previously served his country as Governor of Jamaica, Governor-General of Canada, High Commissioner, Ambassador to China. Died at Dharamshala. Wow. Oh, check this out. When he was in China, in retaliation for the torture and death of 20 European and Indian soldiers, he ordered the destruction of the old summer palace at Beijing.
Wow. In 1860, the Second Opium War between the ruling Qing dynasty in China and an Anglo-French army was drawing to a close. The Allied forces included Indian soldiers from various cavalry and infantry units, including the Sikh and Punjab regiments. As the Allied army marched towards Beijing, then known as Peking, the chief British diplomatic envoy and his entourage that included 20 Sikh soldiers were captured and subsequently tortured by the Chinese army. There's no record of the number of Indian soldiers amongst the dead or their names, but by verifiable newspaper reports, the number is likely to have been anywhere between 15 and 19 men. Enraged by this murderous act, especially after mutilated bodies of the dead soldiers started arriving, the leader of the British forces ordered the destruction of the old summer palace of the Chinese emperor. That man was Lord Elgin.
A massive 870-acre estate filled with imperial halls and gardens, artificial lakes, rococo palaces, more than 1,000 bridges, the old summer palace was called Yuan Mingyuan, the garden of perfect brightness. Today, the ruins remain the biggest symbol of national humiliation on the Chinese psyche. The destruction of the palace ended the war and eventually led to the demise of the Qing dynasty. The Indian soldiers who died there in 1860 remain but a footnote in history.
No, but look at the irony of it. So this bloke burnt down the old summer palace, inflicting the Chinese an irreparable loss. This is where the Tibetans came in 1959, fleeing from the Chinese. Isn't that nuts?
Wow.
And now the Dalai Lama lives in his house.
The subjugation of the Chinese to the British and French imperialist forces and the destruction of the old summer palace are still sensitive topics in China today. Lord Elgin is certainly considered one of the biggest historical villains by the Chinese. Appropriate that Elgin's residence in McLeodganj was allotted by the government of India to another gent the Chinese love to hate, the Dalai Lama.